If you ride or you're just getting into riding, you're probably hearing all sorts of things said over and over and over again. We hear it in parking lots, we hear it at bike meets, you hear it at the gas station, it's all over the place online. When people say things enough times, it becomes true, even when it's not.
And some of these things aren't just wrong, they change how you think, how you react, how you ride even. And this isn't just opinion, these are things that we've seen and heard over time over our riding careers, and sometimes even learned the hard way. So today we're going to break down all the motorcycle myths that we've heard in the scene, and things that'll even get you hurt if you believe them. So one of the first myths that you hear is not all bikes are real bikes. Now I think that's one of the worst myths ever because it's people telling you to get outside your comfort zone, essentially. Now, you'll meet a lot of guys out there that are going to say things like, oh, I remember when I had that, you're going to grow out of it, you need something bigger, something louder, something faster, something slower. I remember hopping on to my sport bike, meeting guys on Harleys that are like, oh, that's a fast bike, you don't need to go that fast, you'll slow down one day. But then I meet 60-year-olds on sport bikes and H2Rs. At the end of the day, your ride is your ride. And you don't want to go outside of your comfort zone. You want something that you enjoy and you have fun with, because at the end of the day, the most respected riders come from guys that have put the time in on the saddle.
Okay, now this one is going to make a lot of y'all mad, and I want to hear it down in the comments below. Okay, so you've seen it on shop walls, you've seen it on stickers and patches, you've seen it everywhere. And that is, you ready for this? Loud pipes save lives. And you know what? They don't. It's a proven fact. It just doesn't happen. Now, Marcus and I, we love our bikes, we love the noise, we love the performance that our baggers bring to us with our loud pipes. But believe it or not, a driver isn't going to hear you. How many times have you been on the road and you see it happen? You see somebody about to pull out in front of you. They're just about to do it. You know they're going to do it. You can see it happening, but instead of rolling off the throttle, instead of covering your hand controls, getting your foot on that brake pedal, you rip right up beside them. Maybe you flash your high beams a couple of times at them. Maybe you rev bomb right beside their window. And you know what? You might have picked a driver on a really bad day, or you picked somebody and you've absolutely terrified them. A couple things are going to happen. Maybe they're going to jam on their brakes and your buddy's riding behind you and he's about to come into the back of them. Maybe they're going to swerve into you and knock you off the road, knock you off your bike. You are not safe on your motorcycle. You should always be driving as if you are invisible. How many times have you been driving in your car? You see ambulance lights or fire truck lights behind you before you even hear them. You don't hear the sirens. And with today's cars, you've got noise cancellation, premium audio systems, and you've got cars that are just dead quiet inside. You're better off to go with high visibility jacket, go with additional lights on your bike, or you know what? The safest thing for you to do is roll off that throttle, get yourself ready to be a defensive rider in case that driver continues to do bad things in front of you. You don't want to get yourself on the ground, and you definitely don't want to hurt your guys behind you.
And this next one is probably what got a lot of people into riding in the first place. And that is, motorcycles attract women. This one couldn't be more false. In these latest years, about 25% of all new motorcycle sales have been women. A lot of female riders are getting into the scene, and it's really awesome and really cool. Now, if your goal on a bike is just to get women, it's probably not going to happen. When you go to a meet, 95% of the people there are dudes, and they're going to talk to you, and they're going to ask you about your bike. They're going to ask you about your mods and all of that. And when it's a woman, and she's at the meet, she's probably came on the back of someone else's bike, or she's got her own bike. So if she's interested in you just because you have a bike, it probably doesn't exist. It's probably not going to happen. So let's say you finally do get a partner. What are the odds that they want to hop on your bike and travel for 3-4 hours just for some cheap, sloppy burger joint? It's probably not going to happen. They're going to have messed up hair, messed up makeup, and they're going to be on an uncomfortable seat. Let's be real. A lot of people are not geared up to sit on the back of a bike for hours on end. So once you have all these finally clicked in your head and you get that realization, riding becomes a lot more enjoyable.
Now, here's one that gets every one of you new and young riders, and it's probably tricked some of us old guys as well, and that is that motorcycles are cheap. No matter how hard we try to justify the fact that we've just spent the amount of money that we put into these things, it's insane. But let's take a look at it, okay? So motorcycles are cheap. Yes, they are cheaper to buy than a car. Gasoline, yeah, it seems cheaper. You're just filling it up more often. Then let's take a look at insurance. Again, If you're a young rider, depending on your age, where you live, what bike you've selected, and if you got caught up in one of our previous myths of you need too much bike for your age, odds are you're going to be paying through the nose for your insurance. But then you still justify it and say, well, you know what? I'll just ride the bike more. But then we're here in Canada. And in a lot of places here in northern states and in Canada, you still need to have a car. So now you're not replacing that cost. You're just adding on top of it. So now we have a car payment, maybe car gasoline. We've got car insurance. You've got a motorcycle payment. Potentially. We're going to get into that in a second. We've got motorcycle insurance, and we also have that gas. And most times, because we love our bikes so much, we're putting premium fuel in them. Now, let's take a look at that motorcycle financing. Motorcycles are a recreational vehicle. The banks don't treat them the same as a car. So most likely, you're going to be into higher interest rates and longer terms. So if you're not careful, you're going to end up paying double, maybe even triple the amount that that bike is worth. The other thing you got to look at is now gear. Right? You're going to buy that cheap, shitty helmet. You're going to buy the gear that doesn't really, do what it needs to do. You're just going to make sure it looks good. And then you'll end up buying it over and over again. You're going to probably buy it 2 or 3 times. So now you're into that exorbitant cost. And then you're like, oh my Lord, I can't believe how expensive it is to maintain this thing at the dealership. Then you think, you know what? Maybe I'll just maintain it at home. But now you're buying a lift, you're buying a toolbox, you're buying tools, you're buying specialty things to be able to work on your motorcycle. Another incurred cost. Then we get into modifications. We get into seats, bars, risers, exhaust, air intakes. The list goes on and on and on. But you know what? It's all worth it. That bike becomes yours, and that bike is all about you.
And one of the funniest myths we've heard is that motorcyclists are unapproachable. They're scary, they're mean looking. You'll have bikers covered in leathers, covered in tattoos, piercings, got guns on their hips, knives on their belts. At the end of the day, they've been the nicest people we've ever met. We've traveled across tons of states, provinces, across the country, and we've never had a hard time meeting people. As soon as you see that someone else is on 2 wheels, naturally you kind of go up and talk to them. They're your instant and trusted person. If you need help on the side of the road, usually the first one to stop is a bike. We're always there. It's our own culture. Yes, when you go to a meet, there's a lot of little groups, cliques, it seems. Sometimes you just walk past and they just bring you right into the conversation. Next thing you know, they're your buddies for life. Scott and I were super far apart in our age gap. He's the old guy, I'm the young guy. And now we're 2 best buds that ride forever.
And this next one feels like a major milestone in your riding career, and that is finishing your motorcycle course. Now, this is a fantastic thing, and it's absolutely amazing that you've finally gotten to this point, and you're just one step closer to becoming that awesome, cool dude like the Steel Mountain Moto boys. But finishing your course isn't the day that you jump on your bike and rip out with your buddies that have been riding for the last 20, 25 years. They're tearing it through corners. They're saying ride your own ride, but they're not holding back. They're pushing you as far as you can go. Now, during your training, you most likely found that you had some shortfalls, some of the things you need to work on. Maybe that left-hand turn was easy to do, the right-hand turn wasn't. Maybe you were looking and gazing down all the time to try to get your controls figured out. Where's your signal? Where's your horn? Where are my high beams? You need to dial all those things in before you get out on the road. You need to take and practice your slow motion turns, your maneuvers. Make sure you got those locked down, because the last thing you want to do is get to a spot where everybody's pulling a U-turn and you can't do it. The other thing to note is that new riders are more apt to get into an accident. 50% of all fatalities that happen on motorcycles happen because of the use of alcohol. 50% of accidents that happen, including a motorcycle, happen at an intersection. So this is especially true for new riders, but should ring true for all motorcycle riders. Ride sober and never, ever trust an intersection.
And this next myth is passengers shouldn't be as geared as you are. Now, that couldn't be any more wrong, because you're responsible for your passengers. If they're not geared up as much as you, they should be geared up more than you. Odds are they're probably not an average rider or a rider at all. So that means that they should have all the right stuff and you're responsible for them. Most of the time when you're telling someone to hop on the back of your bike, you're giving them maybe your spare helmet, your spare gloves, so it probably doesn't even fit right. But it's on you to make sure that they have a proper helmet, closed-toe shoes, that helmet's even buckled up properly. You want to go the whole 9 yards. They don't know what to do in case of an accident. They're not going to know what to do at all in any sense. So it's on you to make sure that they're safe. And don't be going showing off. Wheelies, going side to side. It's their first time on the bike, so let's give them the best experience possible. Their best experience is being on the bike safely and getting off the bike safely.
Listen, there's nothing that grinds my gears more about this next one. And that's even more than when I'm using my typewriter and I get 2 or 3 keys all stuck together at the same time. And that is that this young generation nowadays, these kids, put the blame on everybody else but themselves. And this is really true when it's in the motorcycle world. You think that your motorcycle technician that sees your bike once a year and that shop should be responsible for your bike that whole entire season. And this couldn't be further from the truth. The reason for that is your technician is a professional. Listen, these guys work day in, day out. There's nobody that knows your Harley-Davidson, your Honda, your BMW, whatever you're riding. There's nobody that knows it better. But guys, that's not his bike. He's working on your bike, and there's a dozen more behind it. You and 5,000 other people just dropped your bike off for the start of the season, and we all want them back right away. So he's found efficiencies, ways around things, ways to be faster, and be able to pound through those bikes as quickly as possible. The thing is, maybe you missed something. Now, we're not saying that you have to become a motorcycle mechanic. But you could watch a quick video or two on this beautiful thing we call YouTube. Figure out how to check your tire pressures, check your chain or your belt, how to check for leaks, how to just check the overall well-being of your motorcycle. And you could click on the link down below to see one of those videos. That all being said, there's no one that should be more responsible for your motorcycle than you. You're the rider, it's your bike, nobody else's responsibility but yours.
And this next myth is more so for the broader audience, but also a good chunk of riders too. And that's that we want to hear all of your horror stories. We don't. Now let's say you've pulled your bike into work for the very first time and Barbara from accounting's met you at the water cooler. She's telling you all about her uncle's, cousins, friends, dog's, uncle's, nephew died in a motorcycle accident. And it was horrific. It was terrible. It was blood and gore everywhere and their body was a million pieces. Straight out of a horror story. Shut up. We don't want to hear it. What I want to hear is about the good rides. My friend went down to this national park and it was beautiful and they saw these lakes, saw a moose, saw this, that. I want to hear about good times. That's what we all want to hear about. Motorcycles are all about fun and enjoyment. It has to be nothing but positive vibes, positive energy. So when we say we don't want to hear bad stories, we don't want to hear bad stories.
So once you've been riding long enough, you're going to be able to sift through all of that noise. You no longer have to think that these myths are true. If it's something that your grandfather told you, that his uncle told him about riding, it might not be relevant in today's day and age.
Yeah, once you stop caring about other people's opinions, your ride becomes quieter, much more enjoyable. It's all a matter of your own ride at the end of the day.
And if you still think that these myths are facts, maybe you should take a look at our other video. It's our 5 mistakes that most riders make and they need to avoid.
And that's no myth.
It's only facts. We'll see you on the next ride. Thank you for watching. Peace.